This meeting is being recorded.
Why, thank you.
All right, and I just hit it mid-all.
Yeah, and then check it like a few times because people will probably keep joining.
Welcome, everyone. If you could mute yourself as you enter, that would be fabulous. Awesome. So let's go ahead and get started. We are recording this session. I am going to introduce Kim Kemp. She has been with Zaya for well over a year now. I want to say a year and a half. And for her full-time job, she works in HR in training and development. I will try to lay easy on the compliments and all of the good things that I can say to lead into her. I will let you all see it for yourself, so that way she doesn't think that I am extremely creepy and know way too much about her. So I'm going to hand it over to Kim. And if you have your packet that she sent, you can take notes on that. And she is going to lead us to reach our goals.
Good evening, ladies. Thank you, Chrissy. See, that wasn't creepy at all. That was actually not that bad. And how funny is this? I do this all the time and I forgot to set up my light. So hopefully everybody can see me okay. I apologize. And I'm going to continue letting people in as well. So first and foremost, I wanted to thank Chrissy and Erica both for their leadership and of course asking me to spend some time with you ladies today as we're kicking off our new year. Most people are walking through setting their goals for the year. So I wanted to spend some time. I was chatting with Erica about realistic goals. We did a small run for 2022 accountability group out of our group at the end of, hey, Julie, I see you. At the end of 2022 or 2021 to get us ready for 2022. And the ladies really like the goal setting piece. And so I think that it is helpful for us to understand that piece of it. So without further ado, and since Chrissy already introduced me, I won't have to introduce myself. So goal setting is really about, it's about getting us to an end place, right? So, but why is it important? So, goal setting does include that careful consideration, right? So, of exactly what you want to achieve, followed by the hard work that makes it happen. So, thinking about our goals, I've said this before, and I'll Zaya-ize it. Goals are our dreams with our light and tights and our bomber bras on. Right? So we have our dreams, but our goals are, we're putting on the work pants and we're getting ready to get down to business, right? So I want you to look at two words in that first paragraph, and I want you to really think about it. What I want you to think about, what does careful consideration mean to you? So maybe drop it in the chat, or if you want to unmute really quick, just think on that for a moment. Just what is careful consideration? Anyone want to? Now, I don't know if I can see the chat. So, oh, here. There we go.
Yeah, I was thinking not really thinking the first thing that comes to mind, but then thinking maybe there's something behind it. So if your goal is to make X amount of money, maybe what's behind that's you need to get there, or that makes you want to get there.
Absolutely. So I'm seeing in the chat, thought behind it, being realistic and thoughtful, something realistic, being mindful what your business needs are. I love that people are already pulling out the realistic card because we're going to get a little realistic tonight. So goal setting works because it aligns to your long-term vision and it gives you that short-term motivation that you need to get there. So, so when you're thinking about your goals, you want to take careful consideration and you want to understand what your long-term vision is, so that you can utilize that for motivation. So let's talk a little bit about conceptual and operational goals. So conceptual goals are just that. That's the destination. That's the where. So if you're planning a road trip, that is your big picture. That's where you want to go. So whether it's down the street to pick up a taco, sorry, I had to put a taco in there, or you're heading to California, whatever your destination is, that's your where, that's your conceptual goal. So you want to have that first, because that is probably going to be just a step away from that dream, right? So maybe we just got one leg in the light and tights, right? And we're getting ready to not try to fall over when we put the other leg in. So any stops that you make along the way to that final destination are what we call your operational goals. So they are your how, your milestones, your, whether it's, stopping to get the big gulp at the 7-Eleven before you pick up the taco, or, for me in Pennsylvania, maybe it's the stop in Ohio as soon as I get over the border, whatever the case may be. So those are operational goals. That's your mile marker. So before we talk 5-year plan, I want to get a little real with everybody. And I want everyone to be honest. This is a safe space. All of my training sessions are safe spaces. I don't judge. No one here is judging. But show of hands, if you have a clear vision of where your Zaya business is going to be in 5 years. Raise your hand, raise your virtual hand. Kind of, sort of, maybe a little bit of a wave, right? That's hard. We're turning 5 as an organization next month. So having a 5-year plan at this point in your Zaya business can be really hard to figure out. So it's okay if you don't have that, but we're going to help you try to figure out what that vision looks like, because that's going to set you up for success. But let's get real. How many of us actually even have a plan about what the next 5 years in our own lives are going to look like, right? Maybe some of us are at a cusp where that 5 year is going to gap into us getting our kids graduated from high school, or retiring completely, or having a baby, or whatever that case may be, and whatever season you're in your life. Those are the things that we need to know to try to kind of figure that stuff out. So, but we don't all know what that looks like. So, my plan for 33 months and 20 days from now. Okay, that's an interesting, Julie, you and I will have to talk about that a little bit more. But I see a lot of stuff coming in through the chat about I'm still planning, so many variables, it's unknown, and that's okay. Your 5-year plan can be, again, just a step away from that vision. So, just you want to think about your where in your life, and how does Zaya fit into that? Because we are all more than just Zaya reps, right? We're mamas, we're sisters, we're friends, we're daughters. Some of us are having to be concerned about, we're the sandwich. Many of us are in that sandwich generation where we have parents that are going to have to be taken care of while we're still taking care of kids. There's a lot of stuff going on there. So, whatever that is, that serves you. Right? So your 5-year plan, your goals, they serve you. It doesn't matter to anyone else except for you. It doesn't matter to your upline. Now, it matters in the sense that your upline cares and your sidelines care, but it has to serve you. So your goal is for you and only for you. So I want to make sure that when you're looking at your goals and you're thinking about your goals, that you're thinking about yourself. This is the one time you get to be selfish in a sense, and what serves you. So after we think about our 5-year vision, and maybe what that might look like, we're going to look about that 1-year plan, right? So most of us would probably raise our hands if someone asks us, do you know where you want to be a year from now, right? For the most part, maybe it's 20 pounds later, like me. So we kind of have an idea of what that might look like. So that 6-month goal, it gets a lot easier to see, right? A little bit more crystal clear. And then we move into that next month goal. So on your screen, you're just seeing some of the things that I've put in there. And these are tapping into some of the things that I'm thinking about in my own business. They serve me and they serve what I'm looking for in my business. These are not to be copied, and you can copy them, but by no means is this setting any sort of a guideline. This is just what I did that serves me. So now when you're getting into like the next month plan, that's where you're really going to see those bullet points, right? Most of us know what we're doing next month or this month. But when you're thinking about those activities, you want to make sure that you're tying them back to your vision of where you want to be. So if you want, let's say it this way, I'm not going to be able to perform brain surgery next month. I'm not going to be able to perform brain surgery in 5 years, but I need to have a little bit more specificity when I'm looking at 5 years versus next month, right? So I want to make sure that that's there. Any questions up until this point about this piece of it? Okay. So we're going to get a little smart with our goals. I'm sure a lot of you have heard the acronym SMART before. Many of you may not have, and that's okay if you have not. And I will be honest with you, I have been teaching, I keep it real. I have been teaching leadership, development, planning, structure, SMART goals for almost 15 years. Guess when I decided to start using it in my Zaya business? 3 months ago. So sometimes we have this really good knowledge base and we don't always apply it where we need to. So I just wanted to throw that out there to you guys. So by no means, it's never too late to start. It's never too late to start utilizing the tools. And this tool may speak to you. It may not speak to you. And that's okay either way. It's okay to continue to do training and development until you find the thing that works for you and speaks to you. So SMART is an acronym. It stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. And we're going to walk through what all of those mean. I'm going to assume that nobody's ever heard of them, and we're going to get very in the weeds with them. But this is going to hopefully help as you're setting up your goals. So we want, sorry, my little clicker.
Kim.
Yeah.
Sorry, when you said 3 months ago is when you actually started using them, I also want to point out that 3 months ago, probably 2 months ago, your business kind of blew up, like in a good way. So just had to throw that out there.
And I didn't get there in any clean way. It was dirty. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Not a dirty in a bad way, but it was some hard work and some real talks with myself. So so I had some honest conversations with myself. Oh, and now we're getting overly fun. All right, so specific. Specific is really about making sure that we have a articulated goal. So we want to be clear. We want to define exactly what we want to achieve. When you take time to develop specific, and here's that word again, well thought out goals, you increase your chances of success. So if you don't know where you're going, if you just jump in the car, which there's something to be said for that. There's times for that in your life, right? There's times to just jump in the car and drive around. And then there's times when you jump in the car and you put in the GPS address and you need to get there. So that increases your chances of successfully getting there. So we want to make sure that we're not too vague when we're writing our goals. And we want to make sure that we're utilizing those specific pieces. One of the things that will help with that is the measurable piece, including dates, times, amounts, production information, and data in your goals so you can measure your progress. Why do we want to measure our progress? Well, we need to know if we're tracking or not. It will help you see the plan and the path, and these are your true mile markers, right? So this will help you see that. So let's talk about something a lot of us track every single month, personal volume, right? Many of us look at our personal volume, and that's something that we track every month. So do you know exactly how much commission you want to make every month? Do you have that goal? Do you think about that? Do you have that want or that need? And if so, work backwards from that. So how much PV do you need? By when? Obviously for us, we're paid commission on a monthly basis, but maybe it's not, maybe this goal is not for a month. Maybe you're saving towards something larger, down payment on your new home, a remodel for your home, a college tuition, whatever the case may be. But that's something that's concrete that you can utilize. So if you need to start small, and you need to think of something measurable, that's a great place to start in your Zaya business. And then we're going to spend some time here. We're going to sit in Attainable for a little bit, because here's the thing. You have to make your goals something that you can actually achieve. So what does that mean? Is Kim going to perform brain surgery next month? No. Is Kim going to perform brain surgery in 5 years? No, never going to happen. That goal for me is not attainable. So if your goals are too difficult, you risk losing your confidence. So that also means measuring yourself to other Zaya reps and other Zaya leaders. So do not put your day one up against someone's day 532. It's not going to end well, and you're not serving yourself, period. So that's me just being real. Like you can't do that and feel successful and feel confident about yourself. It's not fair to you. So be kind to yourself and give yourself some grace, and let's make those goals attainable. Also, on the flip side, we don't want to make them too easy. So we're going to make sure that we're challenging ourselves each month. What does challenging and attainable look like for someone in your specific spot? If you don't know that answer, that's really okay. Find out. Find out if there's someone else that in our group, we have a large team. Is there someone else who shares some of the same places that you're at? Is someone in a very similar season than you? Or has someone been in that season that you can tap into that person and say, hey, what feels right? And then again, it still has to align to your vision and your goals and what you are wanting to see in your business. So you just want to make sure that it's attainable. So I like where you're going, Cassie. And yes, this is going to tie into WHAM. Next one that we're going to talk about, we're going to spend a little bit of time and we're going to sit with a minute, is realistic. Your goals should be something you are willing and able to work on. So let's talk about willing and able. What does willing and able mean to you? What are those two words? Either unmute, drop it in the chat. What do you think that means?
Like if you set a goal to go live 30 times in a month and you're not even going live once now, you're probably not willing to go live every single day for a month. So you don't want to make that a goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about able. What are you able to do? Right. So we talked about this in our run group. We talked about I was doing something from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. We talk about big stones and little stones. So we talked about ourselves as I said earlier, we are more than just Zaya reps, right? What are we able to do? If you are giving birth this week, You probably may not do $3,000 in sales. That may not be something you're able to do because you're in the hospital giving birth, right? So we want to make sure that we are willing and able. We want to make sure that that goal is something that we are able to do with the other things that we have going on in our lives. And this goes for if you're working the business 5 hours a week or 50 hours a week, however it fits into it. You want to make sure that when you're sitting down with those goals, that you are willing and able to do the things that you need to do to work on that goal. It's not something that's, oh, it might be good to do. You're probably not going to hit that goal. You want to make sure it's relevant. It has to be consistent with your short-term and long-term plans. So if your long-term plan is to just make a little bit of extra money to help pay for some of the things in your life, then you may not want to create a goal that you're going to build a team, because that doesn't serve your long-term vision, right? So you're probably not going to be overly motivated to complete that goal because it's not serving you. So we want to make sure that this serves your vision and serves you. And last but not least, and everybody freaks out when we put a deadline on something, right? Everybody hates deadlines, but you can be persistent and flexible, still have deadlines, still meet your goals. They're not death sentences. If you take anything away, a deadline is not a death sentence, nor is it a finish line. So think about that for a moment. Think about the fact that if you don't make it a deadline, you have to have it, but at the end of the day, you may not die. I say may not, because there may be some deadlines that meet those guidelines. You may not die, but it's also not the finish line. So you can push past your deadline, right? You can be flexible, but you can also be persistent. So I know that feels like a contradiction, but it's not. Like you can be, and in that is resilience, right? So we want to be persistent. We want to continue to reach for our goals. But when things go sideways, we're going to figure it out. And that is where we're flexible, right? We may not get that goal, and maybe that goal got pushed out, and maybe it's not going to happen today. Maybe it's not going to happen in the first 10 days of the month. Maybe it's not going to happen until day 30, and you're trying to get the last of those orders in to get that PV goal that you needed to make the commission that you set your goal to be. Sometimes we got to be a little flexible. So we want to make sure that we still have those deadlines though, because that is going to allow us to, here it comes, celebrate. If you are not taking time to reward yourself and celebrate your accomplishments, shame on you. No, I'm not shaming anybody. I'm kidding. But specifically, you should celebrate yourself. You should never, ever not celebrate when you hit a goal. Take a minute. Maybe it's 5 minutes and you're going to keep grinding. Don't care what it is or how it is or what it maybe, and it could be something, it's your favorite coffee. It's a trip to Aruba. Whatever it is, find that celebration and bask in that for just a minute, because I'm telling you, you ladies work entirely too hard to not just take a moment. And this goes for any goal. I mean, I'm talking, you potty train your kid and they go to the bathroom once out of 4 times, celebrate that, because that's huge. Whatever it is, whatever your goals are, make sure that you have those deadlines so that you can celebrate those wins. So that will continue that momentum and will keep you going. So I gave each of you some wonderful sheets. If you have those, if you're pulling them up on your computer, they are fillable forms. So I'm going to talk through a little bit about some of our goal setting tips and questions. Page 3 is actually those tips. So you're going to see some of the stuff that I talked about when we were talking, but also you're going to see some other things on there. So the worksheets are things that you can use anytime, but I want you to think, just think a little bit about this while we're here. And I specifically actually made this to only be 30 minutes because I wanted to give us time for community. I wanted to give us time for questions and conversations, so that everyone felt that they could tap in and get help or contribute, because I really feel it takes a community. I don't know it all. But before I open up for questions, I will tell you how I got here. So Chrissy alluded to it a little bit. I'm going to do a plug for WHAM. The WHAM group changed my life, changed my Zaya business. And I don't want to say changed my life in a sense, but it did. But it definitely changed my Zaya business. So when I started my WHAM, Chrissy actually led my WHAM. So as my upline and as the leader that she is, I looked up to her. So when she was listing out her goals on the WHAM sheet, for those of you who've been a part of WHAM, I was like, well, if Chrissy's doing it, I'm going to do it. Guys, that is not the way to set goals. But that's where I started. But here's what I learned from that. What I learned from it was the activities that drive the successes. So then what I did after I finished that WHAM group and I had those enlightening moments is then I sat down and I had a real conversation with myself on why the heck I am not using the things I've been talking to people about for 10 years in my Zaya business. So I backed it up. I put it into the goals that I had, and I utilized that information, and I utilized understanding what was driving the successes that I saw in my business, those activities. So when I say I want to have $8,000 of PV in a month, what drives that? Okay, I need to host 6 shows. So understanding those connectors was so helpful. So I love that Erica has, asked me to do this at the beginning, and we're getting ready to kick off WHAMs again, because here's what I urge each and one of you to do. Sign up for the WHAM, set your goals, go into WHAM, and take a moment to reflect on the activities that drive the successes and that are driving the things that serve your goal. If it doesn't serve your goal, don't do it. Don't just do it because somebody else is doing it because it's listed on the WHAM sheet. If it doesn't serve you, then it doesn't serve you. If you aren't getting success from that, then switch to something else, do something else, whatever works for you. So that's how I got to where I am today in Zaya, and in that sense, leveraging some of this information. So I'll leave with that little fun tidbit of how my WHAM group went.
Kim, I have a quick question.
Sure.
So say if someone's looking at this and 5 years is just like, I don't know, like I can't even think about that. Maybe even 1 year. I don't know. I'm thinking about like maybe military spouses are waiting on to figure out where they're going to be. Where do you suggest, what's a good place to start if 1 year or 5 years out is like just too much?
Start with your why. For Zaya, I would say start with your why. So why do you do Zaya? So for me, a lot of my why is directly correlated to helping people, because that's what lights me up. And so that's where I started, and that's where I sat for quite a while with Zaya. So I would say start with your why, because you can tie that to a vision, even if it's your own personal vision, right? So if I don't know how many people on the phone are nutritional or health experts or, coaches or trainers. If your why aligns to that, then dig into your why and consider that your success. Maybe it's that you want to help 10 new people this first quarter feel good about working out, and you're going to help them by getting them into some Zaya, because that aligns to your vision. And that, again, it's still a SMART goal. It's specific. You have 10 people this quarter, new people that try Zaya, and that's going to help their workouts. And then at the end of the day, if you have 10 people and they're sending you progress photos and you're a trainer and maybe you've had a part of another piece of that, then celebrate that success, sister, because you got it. What else?
So Kim, I was watching the chat and it looks like we're right about at ending time, but there weren't too many questions, only about the handouts. And I believe that those are in Zaya Fire, correct?
Yes, they are in Zaya Fire. I don't know if the presentation was dropped in there or not, but I can definitely get that. And I
Okay.
apologize. I thought we were going a little bit longer than 30 minutes.
You are totally fine.
So,
But
but I'm
yes,
available.
I
I'm in
was watching
Tribe.
the chat, not any questions other than about the handouts.
Okay, great. I'm in Tribe and I'm in Fire. So if any of you have any questions, you want to reach out to me, you want to say, hey, Kim is a smart, feel free. I'm always happy to help anybody that I can. So don't hesitate to reach out to me. Like I said, I'm in both groups. Feel free to send me a DM or I can even post my number if somebody wants to text me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kim. And again, this is recorded, so Erica will upload it to her YouTube and you can catch it there.
Thanks, ladies. Have a great night.
Thanks.